All right. Am I looking good? Looks all right. Looks like I am good to go. All right. You never know with YouTube. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I am hoping that it works. It looks like it works. All right. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 57 of Gear Talk. Gear Talk is the show that I do every other week where I talk about the geekier side of rollerblading. Tonight we talk about 165 mounts, UFS mounts, Trinity mounts. If any of those ring a bell or if you're familiar with those different names, you've come to the right place. We get really nerdy when it comes to inline skates. It's not really an interview show. It's not really a question and answer show, though I do take questions. It's more of a geeky, get the calipers out and try to figure out what the ride height is of one skate versus another. If that sounds like something that you would like, we do record every other Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube. So if you're listening to this on a podcast or on a recording on the YouTube channel, we do this live, and we usually have, a couple dozen people in the live stream chatting, talking about different things that I might have gotten wrong, asking questions. We would love to have you there. So every other Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, come on by and join us. If you are in the live stream, thank you so much for joining. If you have a question, please make sure to tag Back to Blading in the question so that I can answer it. It is hard for me to see the chat. I usually wear glasses, but because of the screen, it's hard to it's hard to see when the glasses are reflecting. So I try to take my glasses off. It's harder for me to read, but if you tag me in it, it shows up in yellow, so I'm able to see it. I do encourage questions. So if there's anything that you might have a question on, I might not know the answer, but I can definitely get the answer for you. Most of the things I can answer, or at least give my opinion on, and usually people in the chat are pretty smart and they'll be able to help you out as well. Before I start every show, I like to give a thanks to the helmetinitiative.org. They have contacted me a few months ago and provided a few dozen sets of helmets. I am a huge proponent of helmets, and I think that anybody skating should wear a helmet whenever you're skating. I know that you're not going to hit your head. I have not hit my head since I got back into this 4 years ago. But the risk is there. If I fall and hit my head, that could be an injury that I won't walk away from. And it's a serious deal. If I fall down and if I break my wrist, if I fall down and get a shinner, or I cut open my side or something like that, I can heal from that. If I hit my head, that is potentially game over. I don't want to have that risk. I don't want anybody out there having that risk. So if you don't have a helmet, I give away helmets thanks to the Helmet Initiative. If you would like a helmet, go to this video after the video and leave a comment and say, I want a helmet. I'm going to be picking 2 people at random at the end of the video, probably in a week or so. I usually just leave a comment and reply so that you can get a special link to send me your information. But if you need a helmet, no strings attached. I would love nothing more than to get you a helmet, especially if you don't have a helmet. Helmets run $50 or so, and that's a lot of money if you don't have a ton of money right now. We're all kind of in this weird, unemployment is super high in the US because of the COVID thing. We don't know where it's going. I want to make sure that everybody can still go out and skate. Skating is a great way to keep yourself healthy, to keep the mental health strong, and the safer that you can be, the better. So leave a comment. Giving away 2 helmets this week, and I would love to give you a helmet. Just let me know in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to hook you up. Before I get started, if you look behind me, you can see there's a lot more skates than usual. So I'm running out of wall space, to be completely honest. I am on the hunt to get a good example of every skate out there. So I don't need every skate out there, right? So every other month, Rossi's seems to come out with a new colorway of the Majestic 12. I have a pair of V13s. There's not much of a difference between the V13 and the Majestic 12. Maybe a little bit of change in the hardness of the material, the boot. Maybe the cuff is a little higher. Maybe the colors are a little different. But the Majestic 12 isn't going to change all that much from the V13 that I have. I'm going to try to get one of every skate so that people can ask questions and I can give a detailed explanation of my thoughts on each of the skates. And I ran out of room. So I've added another row. So it used to be just 3 rows here, and now there's 4 rows. I do have room for a 5th row. You won't be able to see it because you could just see the bottom of it, but I have one more height row, and then I can actually fill in some stuff below as well. So I've got room for all the skates. I think when I'm going to get into more big wheel skates, I'm going to run out of room pretty quickly. There are so many big wheel skates that I don't have and that I haven't experienced that I do want to get so that I can at least talk about them. And I'm going to need some more room. If I have any doubles, if I have donations of skates, I give them away. Or if they're skates that I don't feel like I'm going to be talking about at all ever, I give them away. So I've given away about 4 pair of skates this year. I had a couple questions asking, why do I have so many skates? The reason is this show and product development. I like to make sure that I can understand each of the skates, see what they're good about, see what they're not so good about, how can I make improvements, and when I'm done with them, when I have no more use, I give them away. So super happy. I've got a few new skates that I haven't shared yet. One of them I'm going to be talking about tonight, another one I'm going to be talking about in 2 weeks. And it's fun. If you have any weird skates that you want to donate, let me know, send me a message or leave a comment. I would love to do a trade. I love to trade wheels or frames or bearings or anything that I might have. If you've got some fun skates that I don't have on the wall, especially the weirder ones, I love having them. I love sharing them with you. So I'm always looking for donations. All right, let's get started. So usually what I do in the beginning of every show is I talk about the skates that I've been on over the last couple of weeks. I went skating last weekend. I apologize that I missed Gear Talk last week. Usually I do it every other Wednesday, but for whatever reason, last week was just the perfect storm. So not only did my kids get sick, but my wife got sick. And I had the busiest week. We do a podcast, my friend Ben and I do a Back to Blading podcast that I can recommend if you're interested in listening to podcasts about skating. It's kind of like this show, but I've got Ben and we talk about more news related stuff, the latest stuff happening in the industry versus more geeky stuff, but we do get pretty geeky. Ben's a pretty geeky guy when it comes to skate technology. But I was talking about it a little bit on the podcast. It has been a very busy month for me. And I apologize for not being able to be here last week. I am going to do Gear Talk next week. So rather than skip it 2 weeks, I've got so much going on and so many new things that I want to announce and share with you that I'm going to be doing Gear Talk next week. So I skipped last week, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do 2 weeks from now. I'm going to do next week. And I encourage everybody to be here for next week. If you watch the videos on the weekends, you'll see what I'm talking about, but I'm going to have something new that I'm going to be sharing that I would love for you to see, and I would love to talk a little bit about. I think there's going to be a lot of questions. So next week I will be doing another Gear Talk, and then we should be doing every other week again. You never know. With families and taking care of sick kids and stuff always takes priority, but I'm pretty good about being here every other week. Sometimes I'm not. But I was able to skate, so I missed a week when it was raining, but I was able to skate this weekend. I actually skated twice this last weekend. Once I will post a video of in a couple of weeks. I made a video, but I'm not posting it yet because it was testing out something new that I'm excited to share with you. But when I was skating aggressive, I was back on the USD carbons. Oh, where are they? Here they are. Oops. The hook fell off. So I was on the USD carbons. So this was my setup last weekend. I am absolutely loving these USD carbons. I feel like I skate better in these skates. I mean, keep me honest. I just had my 4th year anniversary of getting back into blading. And every year I put together a compilation of all of the different highlights of the year. Because I do a video every week. That's a lot of videos. You know, it's about a 10-minute video on average. There's what, 52 weeks in the year. So say that's 500 minutes. That's a lot of minutes. So I try to break that down, and I got it down to about 45 minutes, I think. Just the highlights, showing all of the different skates that I tried, all of the different places that I went to, the events that I participated in. By far, looking back, these were the skates that I felt like I skated the best in. I was able to do every trick that I wanted to. I was able to do all of the grinds, all of the spins. It was an amazing skate, amazing discovery. You know, I've known about these skates for a long time, but for whatever reason, I'd been hesitant to get them. And these are just, if you have the means to get them, definitely worth looking into. Now, one of the skates that is not on the wall is a carbon free. I do need to get myself a pair of carbon frees. I know that the Frankie, the FM2s are going to be coming out next month, or November, I guess. I don't know that I could pull off that skate. It looks really nice. It looks like the sort of skate that I would like. I don't know that I can pull it off. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll get it. But I want to get myself some carbon frees. The big difference between the carbons and the carbon frees is this carbon. So this skeleton of the skate, this is the USD carbon. This skeleton of the skate comes all the way up here and wraps around the sides, wraps around the toe, and then comes back around. And you can see that there's this carbon in the back. This makes it really strong, really rigid, really responsive. And when I'm skating, especially with some low profile frames, it feels so good. Like my foot is just attached to these wheels and I can just float. I've skated these with fairly big wheels, like 80s, not huge big, but big enough. And they feel great as well. The carbon frees, being plastic, are probably going to be a little bit more flexy, but I don't know that that's a bad thing. I do think that the carbons are probably as good as I need them. I don't know that I need them any more flexy. The big difference between these carbon skates and any other carbon skate, well, I guess I should say these skates versus the Adapts, which is another carbon skate that I have, is that the cuff is not carbon. So this top area is not carbon, it's just flexy material. The Adapts, I'll get the Adapts real quick. So these are the Adapts. Very similar design in far as carbon. So this carbon, you can see the carbon in the back, goes all the way around the toe, comes all the way up. The big difference here is that this cuff is also carbon. So you can't flex that. That is stiff carbon. And what that means practically is when you're skating, if you need a little bit of help getting down on boot tricks, if you're trying to get your top sole or something like that, and you need to squish a little bit, with this skate, when I lock on, I can push a little bit and I can get just a little bit of squish in that cuff. Especially when you're riding a big wheel like a Wish frame, you need a little bit extra squish, at least I do, to get boot down on these things. And that's not a problem with the USD Carbon. Because it has this cuff and this top area is squishy, you can get down, boot down without a problem. I did struggle a little bit on the Adapts. I do think that's more of a practice. I switch out skates every month or so, and if I stuck with the Adapts, I feel like I'd be much better with the Adapts. But the way that I skate, I don't feel like I'm going to be changing that pattern anytime soon. I'm going to be switching out skates every month or so as I test new setups and test new boots. Something with a little bit more forgiveness is where I need it. So yeah, absolutely love these. I was skating the 65 millimeter wheels. Again, full disclosure, I do own 50/50, so all of these are from my company. There is a bias. I love these. I brought back the company because of these. But skating 65 millimeter wheels, you can get these in any different, tons of different companies make 64, 65s now. They're a lot of fun. So I brought them to Apex, which is one of my favorite skate parks. It does get a little busy, but there were times when I was able to get some really good speed and just kind of float around and pump around the skate park. And with 65s, that is effortless. So you know the feeling that you get when you're skating littler wheels and you skate hard and then you kind of decelerate really fast? You decelerate on these, but not nearly as fast. So you can charge up that little battery, up that speed, and you can get to a fairly good top speed and just kind of coast there. And it's really fun. I'm really curious what flat 65 feels like. This was an anti-rocker setup, and I have been skating flat. So the other week, 2 weeks ago, I skated these. These were the white 50-50 frames, and I skated them flat with 885A wheels. This was a really great setup. I skated this on an outdoor park and more of a wood park. The 85A is a lot of fun. It's like a bouncing feeling. So the 85A refers to the hardness of the wheel. These are 90A, which is a little bit harder than the 85A. Some companies make 82A, that's pretty common. There are some 92A, not 90, what did I say? 92A, not 82. Some companies make 82A, but when we're talking about aggressive setups, usually the softest that you'll get is an 88, and 85 is super soft. 90 is fairly common, 92 is fairly common. Some companies make 95, probably as common as finding an 85. Not a ton of companies make that. Because when you have a really hard wheel, it feels kind of like you're skating on rocks. I felt that way when I was skating 92s. Again, I have old knees that hurt. So for me, a hard wheel is less fun. The advantage of having a hard wheel is you'll probably slide over things a little bit better, and you'll probably last longer. For me, I don't mind, especially skating anti-rocker, I don't mind the wheels wearing down a little bit faster, so long as I get a better ride. So a softer wheel, I usually like to stick around 88, is where I prefer to be. These 85s felt like bouncing wheels. Like when you would land a gap or a little transition or whatever, it felt like it was just absorbing that shock. Kind of like, I bet, kind of like how like a physics or a suspension frame would feel. Now, I don't recommend that everybody skates 85A. I think, you can see the wear on these wheels. This was after 2 sessions, I think. They wear pretty quickly. And that's just, I was skating outdoors. It was a wood park, but it's outdoor cement on 85A. It's going to wear faster. If you skate really nice smooth surface, if you skate an indoor park, wood ramps, 85A will probably last you a long time. So yeah, USD Carbons, this was my aggressive setup. Next week, I'm going to be back on the Them 909s. They're inside. I have something special that I'm going to share, but I can't share it right now. So I'm going to share it on Saturday. If you aren't already subscribed or following me on Instagram, do so that you can see the new setup. I've set these up really nice. I got a new sole plate, new frames, new wheels, new liner. It's pretty dope. So I'm excited. I haven't skated the Them 909s in a long time. And the last time that I skated them was with a Rain V3. So no longer skating the Rain V3. I'll let you see what I'm skating. And yeah, it should be a fun weekend. All right, so that is my aggressive setup for big wheels. So this was a fun one. I did skate big wheels a little bit over the last weekend. I can't share those again, not yet. But before last weekend, the weekend before, I skated the Powerslide Next. So these are the Powerslide Next. I bought them boot only. I got them from Oak City Skate Shop. I don't know if everybody sells these boot only. I think most people sell them as completes, but I got them boot only. I also used my 4x90 frame that I got from the Powerslide Fusions that I had. Are they here? They are here. So these were the Powerslide Fusions. These were $150 complete with the frames and wheels. So $150 for this setup, not bad. Especially since I can reuse the frame. The wheels weren't too bad. I did upgrade them to some undercover 90s. These are better, but the stock spinner wheels weren't too bad. I don't know what bearings I've got on here. They might be the stock bearings. They might be 50-50 bearings. I honestly don't know. But they're fast, really fast. 4x90 is an amazing ride. The only negative to 4x90 is that it's fairly tall. So you need to have a fairly supportive boot. And thankfully, this Powerslide Next does that. It's got the 45-degree strap. It's got this ratchet buckle 45-degree strap even. So that cinches your foot in really nice, really flexy. It's got a hard shell design. Absolutely love the hard shell. Now, I'm a big fan of soft boots. I love the USD carbon. I love the Adapt. But the hard shell for big wheels is a really welcome change. And as far as I know, this was the first Powerslide hard shell Trinity boot that I've ever seen. It is, as you can see, a Trinity mount on the bottom. So what that means is rather than UFS, which has two mounting bolts 167 millimeters apart, Trinity uses three mounting bolts. So there's 1, 2, and then 3. The third one is right in the middle. You can kind of see it underneath this arch. 3 mounting bolts. And what that's supposed to do is allow the wheels to get low. So you can see this second wheel actually goes below where this mounting plate is, which is really cool. And it's supposed to make it better for strides. So rather than having that mounting point in the middle, pulling it to the outside when you're doing your strides, you know, you're pushing off of your toes a lot. This is going to bring that connection point out more, which means that there will be much less flex. At least that's the theory. I trust them for it, but I don't feel like I'm a good enough skater to really tell the difference. I should do a side-by-side. Again, I don't know that I'm good enough to tell, but I should do a side-by-side with these skates. And then I have like I can't reach them, but my Powerslide Imperials. Those are a 165 mount boot. Very similar to the Powerslide Next, not Trinity, it's a 165 mount, but it's got the ratchet 45-degree strap. It's a hard shell boot. I could even skate the same liner if I wanted to. So the Powerslide Next, these were $200 boot only. And that to me was a great deal, especially since I already had the wheels and frames. Again, $200 boot only. You could get these for $150. Throw out the boot, and then you've got yourself a nice 4x90 frame. This wheelbase is 275, which for me is perfect. My foot is 28.5 centimeters, and I usually recommend that people ride about 10 to 20 millimeters less than the foot length. So if you're 28.5, you should ride like a 26.5 frame. This is 27.5, a little bit long. That kind of holds up. You know, you don't want your wheels too far underneath you. Most of the 4x80 frames are 243, which feels really short to me. I don't know if that's ideal. Like, I'm not, you know, sports scientist or whatever, and I can't read the, you know, look at the way that people do their strides and find their balance and everything. For me, though, I like that center of gravity, especially since I do more urban skating than distance skating. So when I'm doing airs, when I'm doing 180s, I want a nice long wheelbase, and 273 is really, really nice for me. Powerslide Next, I haven't been able to skate them very much. It has been raining and I've been super busy, but I do highly recommend them. I think they're a really great skate. The fit was a little weird. It felt like I had to adjust the fit a couple of times. I've also heard that some people have had problems with these shells cracking. Of course, I can't speak to that because I haven't had any problems, but enough people left me comments saying, hey, be careful because I've heard that these crack, or I've seen my friend's shell crack. I trust those people. I haven't seen it myself. I don't know what run this is. I don't know. This is a fairly new boot, so I don't know if this is something that they've changed, that they've fixed. But they are really nice for me right now. So again, I recommend them if you are in the market for a Trinity mount boot. Definitely worth doing, especially if you already have Trinity frames. You don't have to buy another complete. Swap your frames onto another setup. Get the Powerslide Next. Come in a variety of cool colors now. And yeah, it's a really great setup. All right. Powerslide Next. It's a Powerslide night. So speaking of Powerslide, let me answer a few questions since I am here looking down and I just saw that there were some questions. So I want to see if I can talk with people. A reminder, if you do have a question, I would love to talk with you. Please tag Back to Blading in the chat so that I can see it. It's hard for me to see without my glasses. Oh, Angie. Hey, Angie. Can you make it to the Queen City Kongs comp? they're having a Blades comp, and I'll be there. That's awesome. King City, not King's comp, not Kong's comp. I don't know when it is. When is it? I would love to know more. I'm not sure how I am about going to events yet. I feel like going to a skate park is one thing because I can kind of distance myself and I don't know anybody there. Going to an event, I'm still very hesitant to get close to people with the whole COVID thing. I don't know, I can kind of control the environment. If I'm at a skate park, I can stay away from people, or I can run away from people because I'm not there with anybody and I don't see anybody. Going to an event might be a little weird, but I'll look into it. I'm not going to say no. But I love that there will be a Blades event. Definitely let me know so that I can help out. I don't know if I can flow anything from any company or whatever I can do to help promote. But I think there needs to be more focus on the Blades side of the house. There really is. There's been some progress, but I think there's a lot more that we can do. And personally, I have 2 daughters. That shouldn't justify me doing it, but I feel more motivated to do it maybe than other people. Being a little bit older, seeing my daughters grow up and be able to show them rollerblading and have them say, "Where's the girls?" is weird. So I like to be able to say, yeah, it's just a thing that everybody does, not just boys. So I always show them clips of Martina or Fabiola or China or whoever, and they can see those girls. I would love to give those girls more of a spotlight. And I think that Blades comps are a very important thing so that it encourages girls to go out there and say, hey, you know what? We might not be as good as some of these boys, but we still skate really hard. We're really good. Some of them are even better than the boys. And we should have an event so that we can skate together. So I'm all for it. I will look into it and see if I don't, hit me up. You know how to get a hold of me. But I would love to. I would love to learn more about it. And if you need a helmet, leave a comment. Not in the chat. Leave a comment in the video. Angerful Laren. Have you ever ridden Cultics? I have not. People ask me about that a lot. I really need to get a pair. I'm in a weird place because I do own 50/50 that it's hard for me to have an unbiased opinion on another frame. I don't want to say anything negative. So if I don't have a good experience, I won't be honest about it because I don't want to downplay their frame effort. If they're great, I'll talk about it, but I don't want to take that risk. I love my Wish frames, and I skated the Wish frames before I got back into 50/50. 50/50 closed down in the mid 2010s, and when I got back into it, I started the company up again. When I started the company up, I had already been skating Wish frames, and Wish frames were actually why I brought back 50/50. I said, this frame is amazing. It looks like a flat frame, but with juice blocks. And I was like, nobody makes a frame with juice blocks anymore. I could probably do that. So I brought back juice blocks. I brought back the 50/50 frame. So that was probably the last frame that I reviewed. And it might have been the only frame that I reviewed. I did do some big wheel frames, but as far as aggressive, that's really it. I've skated a lot of different frames. I have skated the Cultic V2s. And I don't really have much to say about them. It was a really quick session. I didn't do a full in-depth review or anything like that. They're different. I think that any frame that you try, you should try all the frames. I think supporting frame companies is really important. These are the guys, aside from a wheel company who buys a wheel and puts their brand on it, frame companies are, in my eyes, and there's few wheel companies that have their own profiles, but for the most part, frame companies like Wish, like Sola, like Cultic, they are investing a ton of money into making these molds. They've done the work. They've designed their own unique style of frame, and it's worth supporting that. They are investing in the industry. They're investing in the sport so that there are more options for skaters. I love that. So highly recommend trying all different frames. Anything on the market that looks interesting, you should pick it up if you've got the means. And if you don't like it, don't shit on it, you know? Just say these weren't for me and see if somebody else wants them. You can always sell them. Blade trade is really easy to get rid of stuff if, you know, it's not a good fit for you, because it might be a good fit for others. Or maybe they just want to try it. Maybe they just want it for their wall so that they can share it. But yeah, I have not skated Caltex enough to really have an opinion on them. I don't think that I will. But from what I've heard, people who skate Caltex love Caltex. Great question. Brian Allison, 50/50 XL frame, 290 wheelbase, 60 plus flat. Any possibility in the future? That's an interesting one. 290? Like, who is the market for a 290 frame? I have those long ass, see if I can reach them, these long K2 frames. Take a look at this. Oh, if I can reach them. All right, so these are the K2 front streets. How long are these things? Long. I have calipers. I don't know if they're going to reach. Let me see if I can do the calipers from wheel to wheel. I'll give you an approximation. So this is, say, 90. Let's make it easy. Say 93 and 93. So what's that? 186. And then what's this? 110. So that's 296. I mean, this is your frame right here. This is what you were looking for. Granted, these only fit 60s, I think. I don't think that they fit 60 plus. But I skated these frames. I hated these frames. When you get to a long frame like this, you really need to be able to rocker, because you don't have that wheel management. You can't turn. You can't turn as fast when the frames are this long. So for me, yeah, I was not a fan of these frames. I think that frames should be, again, a little bit shorter than your foot length. If you have a really big foot, totally understood. That's a very small market. Is there a future for 50/50 to make big wheel frames, bigger than 60s? Absolutely. So we already make the balance frames. We already make the balance frames that accommodate 65s. I absolutely love them. Balance frames don't fit 65s flat. I would love to make a frame for 65 flat. I need to find a pair of frames that I can skate 65 flat and try them out. I have a pair of mushroom blading frames here. I have a pair of ground control megas, and I know that people love their megas. I think that those are probably the best option out there for 65 mil wheels if you want to skate flat. And I hear a lot of people raving about them. So I do need to try them and see what all the fuss is about. If they're good, I'll look into it. Again, I'm not one to say that 50/50 only does this. I try all the different skates and I change my mind a lot when I get new information. If I've skated a big frame with flat 65s and I love it, definitely I'll look into making something that can accommodate flat 65. I have skated 290s though, and I don't like 290s. So I don't know that there's much of a market for a 290. I think if you were looking for something like that, I don't know. I mean, these are the only one. I don't know where you're going to find these, but this is your only option. Maybe some old front streets you can get a set. I don't know. Good luck. I don't recommend them though, unless you're skating like a size 13 boot. I don't think frames need to be that long. Nick Name asks, could you talk about cuff bolts? You know what? I am not a cuff bolt guy. I obviously have cuff bolts. I don't know much about them at all. I sent these front street. You can see these front street don't have, or this new jack, they don't have cuffs anymore. I sent these cuffs to Stefan. He wanted to try them out and see how they worked on his boots. And I said, I'm not doing anything with these. I don't need these cuffs. I will send them to you. I remember these cuff bolts were a nightmare to get off. They required this weird special tool that was like kind of like a 2-prong fork. It didn't work out that well. I had to use these pliers and it was just a mess. The only thing that I've heard about cuff bolts is when they fall out, to be honest. You know, I know that the them 909s have had some issues with cuff bolts falling out. I know that other skates have had problems with cuff bolts falling out. I've never had a cuff bolt fall out. I've never even considered a cuff bolt. I've never thought about a cuff bolt. I don't think about cuff bolts. If I were, though, I would probably Loctite them. I would probably make sure that they were always tight, and Loctite would keep it tight. If I were designing a cuff bolt, I would want something that would probably fit in so that I could only, I would only need one Allen key to unscrew it, because putting your hand in the cuff can kind of get weird. One Allen key, unscrew it, take it off, screw it back on, you're done. I know that the cuff bolts with the Aeons were a little weird because they're at this weird angle, and it was kind of a nightmare to assemble, and you get it wrong. Like a USB, you know, cable, you plug it in 3 times and you still get it wrong. I had a hardest time getting the Aeons back together because those little cuff receptors didn't work out so well. So I would probably make something that was universal. I don't know what you're asking, but for me, cuff bolts aren't really a thing that I think about. I do know that some people suffer from them. I think that making sure that they're always tight, making sure that you put Loctite on them. I hope that helps. I don't know what you were asking, but I hope that helps. If you can give me more information, I'd be more than happy to talk a little bit more, probably leaving a comment in this video after it gets posted so that I can write a little bit. That's probably best. But thanks for watching, and thanks for asking questions that I've never had before. K. Steezy, good evening. What's your opinion on the Sola frames? Absolutely love the Sola frames insofar as I've never skated the Sola frames. I think that the opinionated frame, the opinionated product is amazing. I think that, you know, Cleat is coming out with a Wish frame saying these are the wheels that you need to ride with it. That's genius. That's saying that this is a very specific frame that has a very specific purpose. I want you to be able to skate anywhere with this frame. And in order to do that, here's the things that you're going to need to do, right? You're going to need to grind the heck out of the inside of your sole plate. You're going to need to get 72 millimeter wheels and 60 millimeter wheels. And at the time, who had 72 millimeter wheels? They were really hard to find. So I love that there are opinionated frames. I think Kyle with the Sola frame, same vein. He came out and said, I'm going to make the most responsive frame possible, because what I like to do, and you know what the team likes to do, is skate really fast in transitions. More power to you, right? So they made the perfect frame for skating transitions. It's nice thick walls. It's got racing axles, so there's very little loss of responsiveness. Add to that now, you know, they're skating with the famous wheels, which again, I'm not a huge fan of. I don't think that wheels should be that hard. I think the outer tire being 88A really has no difference, because the hub is so big and it's not, you know, it's super hard. It's very little urethane. But if you want to go fast, the harder the wheel, the better. But you still need some sort of a grip on the outside. So that's why they do famous wheels. Super hard wheel, a little bit of 88A, you're good to go. I've heard from a lot of people that Sola frames aren't great when you're doing grinds on anything but coping. And it makes sense. You know, metal on metal isn't the fastest. You can polish it, you can clean it, but as soon as that metal starts picking up wax and dirt and stuff like that, it starts to get sluggish. I've seen people stick with Sola frames and with Kaiser elements. You know, it's not just Sola frames, it's the aluminum design. But if you're looking for a frame that's going to be super fast, if you want to do really big backsides on a bowl, and you know, carve around on a bowl, do fakey, you know, bowl corner carving and such, I don't think there's a better frame out there. It's not for me. I'm not that good at skating that I can justify getting a frame specifically for doing transitions. I suffer enough just trying to get up over the coping, let alone, you know, 360 over the coping, or, you know, whatever Joe Atkinson does. So if you are that skater, you probably know it. and you should probably look into getting them. The people who are good, who kill it on transition, are all skating Sola frames. So it's definitely that elite frame for the elite skater. And if you can appreciate it and if you can take advantage of it, it will get you to a next level in skating. And I love that. I love that there's something out there like that. I've never skated them though, so it's hard for me to say if they're good or not. I just know what I've seen, and I know the people who skate them, and I trust that they're skating them because they like it. I don't think they're skating them just because. I think they're just really big fans, and they're probably really good frames for what they do. Great question. All right, I will get back. I promise you, I will get back to the questions. I'm doing pretty good tonight. My voice is holding up. I've actually been feeling fine lately. I haven't been sick, so I've been very fortunate. It's funny how when you take personal health more seriously, you don't get the colds, you don't get the sniffles, things like that. Wearing your mask, going out there, washing your hands all the time, being conscious of not touching your face or anything, totally makes a difference. So I'm taking care of myself, but it is starting to get cold out here, which means that it's going to be flu season soon, which means get your flu shot if you haven't already. Plan on getting mine this weekend with my daughter, because we get a $5 gift card at Target, and she likes to, I don't know what she does with her $5, but she wants to do it. Anyway, so I wanted to talk a little bit about these crazy skates. So my friend Rachel sent me these skates. I saw them and I said, I've got to have those, even if it's just for one session. I got to give it a shot. I'm a huge fan of Trinity. I'm a huge fan of purpose-built skates, and these are something completely different for me. These are These are the Rain. Are these the Triton? It just says hockey. Chronos. I'm going to have to update that. I thought these were the Triton. These are the Rain Chronos skates. So, first of all, these are hockey skates. They are not designed for anything that I'm currently doing, which is amazing. I love that there is a skate that I don't think I've ever considered skating. They are light. They are Trinity mount. These are from Powerslide. They're a Trinity mount frame. They are 3x100. So these are 100 millimeter wheels. These are the stock wheels. They're Prime Tribune wheels. And they are 100 millimeter 74A. 74A, for all you aggressive skaters out there who are thinking that 88A is soft. 74A coming at you. So these are pretty crazy. They're super light. They are designed for roller hockey. They are no internal liner, so the boot itself is the liner, very similar to like a USD carbon or something, but obviously there's no sole plate. It is carbon, it looks like, on the bottom, so it should be really light and really stiff, really responsive. It has a MyFit recall on the inside, so it's not a liner, but it's a MyFit recall, which means to me that this is like a memory foam sort of. You can actually see it, so I'll squish it down with my fingers and you can see it kind of comes back into shape. It's got this memory foam recall squishy stuff on the inside, so it should feel really nice. I've put them on and they fit me like a glove. They are my size, which is why I was like, I gotta get them. These are the EU 44 28.5 centimeters. What's crazy about these is the wheelbase. So they are 231 millimeters from 1 to 3. Now, put that in comparison. These are the large fitty frames that I usually skate. They are 270. You can see how much longer they are. Now, it's weird because the wheels themselves aren't much longer. They're actually a little bit shorter, but because they are 100 millimeter wheels, you measure from where they actually touch the ground. This is the wheelbase. So the wheelbase is from here to here, just like on this UFS frame, it would be from here to here. You don't consider the length of the wheels because that's all subjective. You can wear down your wheels a little bit and you can have them a little bit shorter or a little bit longer depending on what wheels you're riding. The frame is what matters, and the point of contact with the cement is what matters. So this although it is probably 20 millimeters longer from wheel to wheel, is considerably shorter. It's like 40 millimeters shorter for the actual wheelbase, for where they're actually touching. Now, why would you want something like that? Well, they'd make really small frames for slalom. Makes sense that they would make really small frames for hockey. On hockey, you want to skate fast. You want to do lots of turns. You've got to react really quickly. You know, if the puck bounces off the boards and goes another direction, or if you lose the puck, you got to turn really quickly and go, you know, sprint back and go catch them, right? So it makes total sense that you want a really short wheelbase. I'm really curious to see what these are going to be like. So I used to play hockey. I grew up playing hockey. That was my introduction to rollerblading. I got some rollerblades, Zetra 303s, and I would go out with my hockey stick and I would play hockey with my brother and my friends almost every day. We would practice, we would do skating, we would do stick handling, things like that. The interesting thing about these skates is they look very similar to my hockey skates. So I have a pair of hockey skates here. These are the hockey skates that I ride, that I use. These are not made anymore. These are the Reebok 11Ks. I've spoken about them a few times on the podcast. But these are my hockey skates. Again, I haven't skated these in about 4 years. But these are the Reebok 11Ks. They are super light. They do have the carbon fiber stuff on the bottom. These were like a $600 pair of skates at the time, I think. They're very light as well. You can see this ride height is a little bit taller. It's a little bit shorter on this, so the distance between the heel and the ground is going to be a little bit shorter on the hockey skates than it is on the 3x100, these chrono skates. But the length is very similar. So if you look where they touch, this has what they call a radius. I think it's a radius. Is it a radius? I forget what it's called. But it's the I think it's a radius. It's the curve. So a hockey skate isn't perfectly flat. Do I have something flat? I do. I have this stick. Let me get it. Oops. This is relatively flat. Let me put this down real quick. I have too much, not enough hands. This piece of 2x2, you can see this hockey skate. So it touches on the middle, but then you get this rocking. So the middle has, I don't know, like 40 mil of flat, but then the concave radius, I don't know what it's called. I keep saying radius, but I don't know that that's the right thing. But you can see that it becomes closer up there. So the actual area that you're skating on is super, super thin. Super, super thin. It's just like from here. So it makes sense that this would be much shorter, super short wheelbase, because you want to stay on the middle. You want to be able to jump from both the front and the back, so that when you're doing turns, either skating forwards or backwards, you want to be able to adjust and jump from the front wheel to the back wheel, etc., etc. Weight-wise, I did bring out my scale. Very curious. I have my scale right here. Let me move the stuff over. I will weigh them so that I can tell you what the difference is between the two skates. This is the ice hockey skate. This is the Reebok 11K that I haven't skated in a long time, but I got back in 2014 probably. 944 grams for the Reebok 944. And I would assume this is a little heavier, but not by much. 1308 for the Rain. So obviously you've got more equipment, you've got the bearings, you've got the wheels, but the boot is probably the same weight. I am going to bring these out. So I haven't done a hockey session in a long time. We have a local rink, an outdoor rink that I'm going to be able to skate at. And I'm going to bring these out and give them a try. I have my helmet, of course, talk about helmet giveaways. I have my old, this is my old Bauer helmet. It's probably not good anymore. I should probably get a new one if I ever play hockey again. I'll probably take off the cage, but I don't expect any pucks coming my way. But this was my old helmet that I used to wear. And then I have my new green biscuit puck. These things came out right when I started back up with hockey. And they are a really great puck for keeping on the ground when you're doing stick handling. If you play with a real puck, it's going to stick. If you play with just a piece of plastic, it's going to flip up and then it starts rolling away. These are really good about sticking down, so I'm excited to play with this again. And I got my gloves. These old Eagle gloves. I don't think Eagle's a company anymore, but it's going to be fun. I'm really excited to give it a shot. I haven't thought about playing hockey in many, many, many years. I do have a new stick. This crappy Mylec, which is I think is a roller hockey brand. So this is the new stick. This is the Mylec. I think it's just wood, but it should be fine for what I need to do. I don't want to. So this is my normal hockey stick. This is a Easton Synergy HTX. These are like a $200 hockey stick. It'll last me, I don't know, about a dozen games or so. You can see it's all pretty banged up. I do play defense, so my stick gets banged up pretty easily. But I didn't want to wear this stick. This is a heavy stick compared to this one, but it'll be all right for this experiment. Really exciting. I haven't thought about playing hockey, but I'm really excited to go. I'm not going to go on Saturday. I'll probably go on Sunday. I'll probably post the video next week. I'm just fascinated by all of the different things that Powerslide makes Trinity for. Like, usually roller hockey, you would think you'd want to keep a pretty low ride height. Like, if you remember these things, so back when there was a roller hockey league, they had these things. These are the V form, I think they're called. And this, this is a joke, but this was state of the art back then. So it had this crazy plastic frame with these wheels. What size were these wheels? V form 76 mil. So this was a roller hockey skate back then. And I just assumed that, oh, roller hockey skates are all going to be four wheel because you don't want to be too high, right? You want to keep your lower center of gravity. Like compared to your ice skate, I don't know where my ice skate went, but compared to your ice skate, you got to keep a fairly low center of gravity. These things are going to be so tall. I mean, I guess Trinity helps a little bit. It's not going to help that much. We'll see. I'm excited, though. I will definitely report back. I will talk about it in Gear Talk next week. Reminder, I'm going to be doing Gear Talk next week, not just 2 weeks. So stay tuned for the recap on how my hockey adventure goes. All right, finish up with some questions. See if there's anything else that I can, there's all this dirt and crap on my laptop now. Anything else that I can answer? If you have questions, please leave a comment and make sure that you tag Back to Blading on the chat. I will get through your questions and then I'll call it a night. It's been a really nice one. Nice catching up. It feels like it's been a while. Even though it's only been 3 weeks, it feels like it's been a while. I missed you guys. All right. Carlos. Hey, Carlos. I got some USD carbons. Love them. He put Pianowski Aeon cuff. Awesome. Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, 7 sole plates. So I am riding USD 7 sole plates on these carbons. I don't think I mentioned that. That is a great upgrade. If you can get a pair of USD 7 sole plates, the groove is a little bit different. It locks a little bit lighter. So the USD carbon is a pretty notched groove, which means that when you lock on, you're pretty set. I like this because it's a little bit wider and a little bit more forgiving. I don't have the best form, and this adjusts for where I end up. Like you can see the grind. This is my Royale foot even, but you can see the grind. I do end up on this back area a lot. And I kind of like that. I think maybe on my back Royale, I probably sit down over there a little bit more. But it's got just a little bit of concave, not too much. The actual USD carbon sole plates have a deeper concave, and it's not as wide of a groove. It's a little bit more shallow. Both great. This is my preference, but both of them are great. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. Glad you got your skates though. I highly recommend the USD carbons. They're my favorite skates right now. Angerful again. Oh, Angerful, yes. How does someone go about making a wheel in terms of manufacturing? How do you find companies? That is actually a really great question. I've had a few people ask about going a little more deep into what wheel companies are all about and how can you start a wheel company. And I don't know that it's taboo to talk about, but usually there's a lot of, you just got to go out there and do the homework yourself to get started with a wheel company. The long and the short is there's probably 5 or 6 wheel companies out there that make wheels. And of those 5 or 6 companies, there's a handful of them that will make OEM wheels for you. Probably the easiest one to get started with in the US is LaBeta. They're based in California, and there's a few companies that use LaBeta now for their wheels. Another one is Bravo. Bravo is based in Italy, I think. I don't know where their wheels are made. They're kind of made all over the world. But they're fairly quality wheels. You find them a lot on OEMs. And then the company that we use is called Gyro, Gyro. They're based in South Korea, and they specialize in slalom wheels. They don't do a ton of aggressive, but they're really great wheels. We've been very, very happy with them. The way that you get started is you just start up a conversation. You know, you find their contact information online and you email them and say, hey, I'm interested in getting some wheels. They usually have, 500 to 1,000 sets at a time, and you have to order the wheels, you have to pay for the screens. It's a pretty big investment up front. And then obviously you've got to ship the wheels to your office. So you can't just, go over and pick them up. There's going to be a lot of boxes. I guess you could if you, lived nearby, but usually you have to ship the wheels over, so you've got to deal with international shipping and stuff like that. It is not a super easy process to get into, especially if you want a quality wheel. But it is worth looking into. If it's something that you are, always wanted to do, want to make some wheels for your local crew or for your community or for your skate shop, I always recommend just looking into it. There are a lot of really bad wheels out there. So always make sure that before you start doing any wheel development, that you get wheels to test. And they'll usually provide a few different formulas for you. It's different priced. So they have a formula that they recommend for like OEM, which is like when you put them on your skates, which is usually a little bit cheaper, which is why stock wheels usually aren't great. You can save, 10-20% on a set of wheels, or 10-20% on a set of wheels if you got the OEM formula versus the production retail formula. It's fine if you're just selling skates. Most people don't expect stock wheels to do super well, but that's where companies can cut corners. You want to make sure that you get all of their different wheels that they're providing so that you can test them out and see which ones work best for you. They usually have different profiles that you can pick from. You can buy your own molds to make profiles. There's different ways that you can customize the whole process. And then of course you can pick out colors, you can do different, printing and stuff like that. Highly recommend looking into it though, if it's something that you're curious in. It is not a cheap endeavor, thousands and thousands of dollars to get up and running. You've got to buy these wheels, and again, they usually require 1,000 wheels or so to start. So it's going to be an expensive endeavor. But if it's something that you've been super interested in doing, can't hurt to try and look into it. I think, there's a bunch of different resources out there. If you just do a search for OEM inline wheels or inline wheel manufacturing on the Google, you'll be able to pull up some. There's probably other companies that I didn't know about, that I didn't list, that might be interesting as well. So yeah, I hope that helps. It is kind of you need to know somebody to get started sort of business, but nowadays, there's a bunch of factories out there that you can just email and get some more information. And I recommend doing that, at least just to get some more information on what the whole process is like. All right. Yeti Cuda, I think the market for a longer frame is deeper than you may think. You know what? You might be right. Again, it's not for me. I'm a size 10.5, and a 270 is perfect. I don't know how many people have bigger feet. I don't know how many people prefer a long wheelbase. Again, it's hard when you're a frame manufacturer to invest money, thousands of dollars into a frame mold, when you don't know how big the market is. And presumably the market is a small percentage. Like if you look at the skates that are available, if you look at roller warehouse, for example, they usually have plenty of 6 and 7s, and they have, or 5s and 6s, and they have plenty of 12, 13s, or whatever the big size is, right? It's that middle section that they sell out of fastest. That's the bread and butter. That's where you want to make the frames so that they're optimized for. Anything longer than that or shorter than that, you're going to sell, but it's not going to sell very fast. But I mean, every market's different. There's no reason why you couldn't make your own frame. 3D printing nowadays, you can get yourself a copy of Fusion 360 and design a frame, 3D print it, see what it's like, give it a few test rides before it breaks. If it's worth doing, get some money together, get a mold made, and there you go. See if you can sell them. Yeah, but long frames, I don't know. I don't know what the use case is. I think that's my biggest thing. I'd love to learn more if you do have an interest in long frames, aside from I have big feet, because I think big feet totally makes sense. I don't know that I can justify that market, but hopefully somebody can. Maybe Powerslide can. Doesn't Razors make a long frame? The ground control is like a 285, I think. That 60 mil aluminum frame, I think it's a long frame. I don't know, I might be wrong. All right, last question. Nick asks, do you have a preferred pattern for lacing up your skates? You know what, I've never even thought about it. I do the usual, just like this rain skate, I just do the usual under, over, and then under, over, and then under, over, and under, over, all the way up. I've heard that there are a ton of different ways that you can lace up your skates to make them more responsive, to make them lower the heel lift, to make them pull your foot back, to make them... There's a lot of different ways that lacing can work. Of course, that all assumes that you have a little bit more flexibility in this. This skate, for example, this is so hard. I don't think I'm going to be able to lace it up to a point where it makes any difference whatsoever. It's like I need puffy tongues so that I can lace it a little bit and make it a little bit tighter. But I've never even thought about it. Again, these are good questions this night. I've stumped on a few things. I've never considered the different ways of lacing. I would love to learn more though. If there's a functional way, a better way to lace up your skates that would give you a better ride, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. I've seen a lot of resources and I've looked into a lot of resources, but I've never heard from somebody who laces it differently and why. I've never been convinced that it's worth the effort. So if you are that person, I would love to learn more. Or if you have questions about it, I'll always give you my opinion. All right, I think I am good. Thank you all so much for joining me this week. Again, I've got a lot going on over the next couple of shows. So if you aren't already, make sure you subscribe, smash that bell, click the like, do the whatever, throw the rubber chicken in the air. Whatever you're supposed to do so that you can get notified when I'm going live, do it. Because next week is going to be a fun one. 2 weeks from now from then is going to be an even funner one. And then 2 weeks from then, in the beginning of November, all hell is going to break loose. I'm going to have so much good stuff to talk about. It is ridiculous. This is the time when, we've been saving up throughout summer. We usually do our big releases in spring. We do our big releases in fall. this is the time for our big releases. And I've got a lot of big releases coming over the next month or so that I cannot wait to share with you. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for the support. Stay safe out there. Make sure that you're being smart about where you're going. And I will see you I will see you next week.